Welcome, class to Ethics Study 6, Race, Ethnicity, Politics in America. I'll be your profe, Julio Enriquez. I'll be the facilitator and educator. I graduated from Cal State LA, my BA and my MA. So welcome to the class. It's a little bit about me. I was a street vendor. I did a lot of documentaries, talk about immigration, about working people, and so forth. Here's there could be the homepage where you have access to the syllabus and also the module. Here's a little bit of the chapters of students that we're understanding, analyzing the concept of the readings, critical analysis, theory, development, critical analysis in terms of the way we're going to be doing your IIQs, which is basically the reading assignments or video assignments for this course, and also demonstrating, anti-racial liberties issues, talk about what's going on in the world today and looking at the past and the present. One thing for me is always communication. Unless it is an emergency, then please email me at my school email. Other than that, just message me at Canvas is a lot easier for me. And the reason I say that is because I get a lot of emails from school. So I have throughout doing this teaching, I have also lost emails. So it's also my best preference is always through Canvas. So as you see here, I have two links. One is the syllabus and the other one's the module. So I'll be showing you the modules. Here will be the syllabus, and you'll be seeing the video, me going over the syllabus. These are the resources that I have for the class. These resources are also be in your syllabus, so I'm just do a lot of the copy and paste here. We're looking at writing tips, the library, success centers, disability programs and services. So in case you do need extra time with certain things, you can look into transfer centers. That's one of the biggest important piece as we come into community colleges. Make sure that you guys are talking to the transfer center, figure out the realms in terms of how long is it going to take your path, right? Or to finish whatever degree you're going for, or transfer, or even getting some type of certificate at Chafee. Then I have students emergency interventions welfare programs. These are places also that can help you with food and resources. I also have resources for documented students, also the LGBTQIA and on community. So there's a lot of resources that I like to provide to the class. And again, so this is we're going to be seeing our work week, looking at critical race theory and looking at legal construction of race. So there are a couple of readings and a couple of documentaries here to watch out to see, and also have the notes. So I kind of gave it to you in pointers, notes of the week for both readings. And what is due for this week, it'll be introduction. Introduction is no points. It's just for me to get to know you, and also to you guys get to know each other. And also there will be an IIQ writing, IQU video, and the syllabus quiz. And I go a little bit more into that as I go in through the syllabus. And also going back to here, we have syllabus course, which would open up to here. I do have it in PDF too. This is more, you can find it quicker. So let's go over the syllabus. So again, right, welcome to Ethics 6. One thing I do provide in the syllabus is a letter and acknowledgement is always to give the Tongva people representation, understanding that the land that Chafee is on, belong to forefathers before us, and the people of that is the Tongva nation. Pronouns, preface in this class, you guys all have that, you guys all have the preface to identify as such, and also as a class, we need to respect that as well. One thing I do say, this is an online class, so you have to stay on top of it. I will be reaching out to you after you miss a couple assignments, but other than that, make sure you look at to-do list. Also on the side of your module, I'll tell you when I do dates. And this is just going course description of what we're going to be going through, course objectives, student learning outcomes, what is going to come out of it. You learn through this course. So also some of the terms that are going to be said in this course are going to be queer, Black, transgender, Latino, Latinx, Hispanics. We're not using so much Hispanics. We're not using immigrants. We're going to use undocumented folks, people in migration that are migrating. We want to give respect to those people and to these terms. And a lot of the times, as you see within the course, why we are avoiding certain terms as well. One thing I do have importance for this class is ethnic studies community agreement, and respect to all identities, anti-racism, anti-discrimination, respecting differences, different perspectives and lived experiences, And I say this because this course is going to be heavy. It's going to talk about anti-racism. It's going to talk about actually the racism that has existed and what is the work that is being done to fight it, but also the exposure of a lot of this history, and especially then, and we learn through K through 12, a lot of this history is very erased. There's an erasure of it. In this class, we're going to touch, give some glimpse of this lost history. Also accountability and growth, confidentiality and safety. You can go through this, but I'm just giving you a quick snips of it. Confidentiality and safety, collective responsibilities. Since this is an online class, the only attendance policy that I do have is that we do have a quiz by Sunday. If you don't do the quiz by Sunday, I will drop you from the class, and this is because I have other students trying to join in. I have about 13 or maybe 14 now, depending, within the week, how many people want to get in the class, but also people that are not on waiting list are going to be eliminated to try to get in. So again, right? So if you don't submit your quiz by Sunday, then by Monday I will drop you. And I apologize, but that's just just to make sure that you guys are attending, especially when I'm giving you a week to do the quiz. And the quiz is basically just on the syllabus, right? And the other two assignments, if you miss it, you can make up for it, and I'll break that down a little bit. But other than that, mandatory for me is always the quiz. And again, this is the resources that I put out there. One thing I'd want to really emphasize is integrity, plagiarism, AI. I'm really against plagiarism, the way we use it in this course. I know people want to look at grammar in terms of the way you're responding to the assignments. One thing I would say that I'm not looking at grammar. I am not looking at punctuation, misspelling, none of that. When we are doing the IQs, I really want to hear your inner voice, critical analysis, and so forth. When I'm seeing a lot of AI, I can understand that I am listening to the computer. And then after a certain amount of time, you understand how many students use the AI, and it just sounds about the same. So again, right, avoid the AI, use your own voice, your own writing. And again, if you do use AI, I will screenshot it, show it to you, and give you a 0. You can get back to me, we can talk about it. But other than that, it's going to be a 0. And once you get 2 AIs, I get you for 2 AIs, I will drop you from the class. There will be no discussion on that. There will be 1 extra credit for this class to help you out in case you do miss IQ, or just for instance, if you want to have an extra point in terms of when it comes down to the zine, just to, maybe letting any help. But I do have 1 extra credit, would be worth 6 points. So going over the course policy expectation, like I am requiring you to be engaged, actively look at the readings, look at documentaries, engage with each other, and so forth. So now we're looking at the student's evaluation in terms of the points, how we're going to be graded, and so forth. So 8 points is going to be based on the quiz, and again, there's no extension on the quiz, so that's due in the first week. And there would be 60 points are for the 10 IQs. I call them IQs because I'm going to listen to importance, interesting, and questions that you're going to have between analyzing either documentary or the reading. Some weeks might be 2, some weeks might be 1. It all depends, right? But they're technically 10 IQs, and I call them those will be the discussions. So the writing format, when I tell you the IQ, and I'll tell you if it's in writing or it's in video. In the writing, initial response should be 7 to 10 sentences. Responses should be short, 3 to 5 sentences to replies to your peers. So you need to respond 2 to your peers in order to get the full 6 points. And same thing goes for the video forums. Be developed 2 to 3 video, clearly demonstrating understanding of the assignment, and also reply to your peers as well. And the final project is going to be a zine. It's going to do July 24th. I can say a zine. I do this as an alternative to a writing. So in this class, in terms of the final, it's not an essay. It's not a big writing format. So think of that. You could also start looking at zines on YouTube, see what they look like, and so forth. It's very, very artistic, very passionate when people are engaging within their past, the understanding of the course. But it's basically essentially it's almost like a booklet in some ways, so just simplified in some ways. But this is an alternative to a lot of women who decided, little feminist work they did in doing zine. So I like to do zines as my final. And again, interaction with me, it always be through Canvas. On the weekends, it might be longer to get to you, in case you do need an extension. Just let you know it will be there, but I just won't reply as fast as you think I can. Also grading, I'll be grading weekly, so maybe by the end of by end of the week, I'd like to be on top of it. Again, late papers, missed assignments for this policy. I am allowing 2 late assignments. I'm not asking for questions. Just let me know. I think it's some things in our lives happens very personal. So all I need is to know that I need an extension, either for 1 or for 2. You let me know, and then you let me know when you can get it back to me. Also the late assignments, late policy does not apply to the quiz or the final. For the grades for this class, it'll be A, B, C, D. There's no pluses here or minuses. So the grade breakdown is, there's a quiz of 10 points. The IQ is worth 60 points, 6 points for each, but there's a total of 10, and the project of 30, 100 points, and you can see it. One of the important things that I do have here that I want to note is, depending how you feel this class is for you or not for you, is your own responsibility to drop the class. So the important date is June 10th to drop without a W. To drop with a W, it would be July 3rd. After July 3rd, then at that point, if you're doing not great in the class, then I'm going to have to give you the letter grade, the response to it. I do always talk about disability program and services in my statements, and I do that because I have disability, so I like to always emphasize that in my courses. The school has good rates, so just look into it. Now into the needy stuff, looking at the readings on what we're going to be going through in this course. So the first week, we're going to be looking at critical race theory, legal construction of race. That's week 1. Week 2, we're looking at racial formation in the Southwest and racial equalities. Week 3, we're looking at introduction of Latinx studies and origins of Latinx communities. Week 4, we're looking at settler colonialism and U.S. immigration law. And then week 5, we're looking at births of passage, quotas, reconstruction of race, naturalization. Week 6, we're looking at the history of La Migra, racial restrictions, deportation. Week 7, we end up with the Bracero program and Operation Wetbag. And each week it tells you the IQs that is due. So as you can see here in week 7 is asking for a video. Week 6 and 7 both are actually videos. Actually, there's videos too there's plenty of, I might change them, because I have a couple weeks that are 2 videos, but nonetheless, I'll let you guys know in the IQ and the module as well. So here we have, and then week 8, right? Week 8, we don't have anything due besides the final, which is July 24th. So be attentive of that. It doesn't end, the class does not end on a weekend. So that's why I don't do a lot of the things due that week. Is just the zine. And again, I will help you through the zine. The week 4, I will be doing a lot of introductions of the zine, where we going, what I'm looking for. But also you can also ask me questions. And throughout, if you do submit the zine, I would go over it just to give you some hints, or you can submit it to me and I'll give you hints. I am not a professor that is just like, I won't see it till it's due, because I think it's very important when we're doing a zine, because it's very personal. So this is why I like to give feedback on the zine early on. Yeah, so this is the syllabus for this class. One thing I do want to talk about is the IQs. As we mentioned in the modules, as you see here, that is due, it would be IQ 1 writing, and there'll be a video and the syllabus quiz. So this is looking at the discussion. So one thing I am asking for is 1 important aspects of the reading, 1 interesting aspect that stood out for you, and a question that arose for you in the reading. And additionally, responsive to your classmates. So again, when we are talking about this writing, I am not asking for a recap of the chapter. I want to understand, what are you listening to in the reading? What are you hearing out? Little pointers that stood out for you. Those are the things that I want to listen to. My notes will be capturing all that happened in the chapter. But nonetheless, I want to hear the engagement that you have with the reading. What is it? Critical analysis and so forth. So again, it'll be 7 to 10 sentences. and then replies and so forth. In the bottom, I talk about the points that I did earlier. Now, when we look at when we look at IIQ2, it's going to give you the same description. It also tell you which readings we're going to do. So it talks about assigned readings. For here, we'll be looking at week 1. We'll be looking at White by Law, Chapter 8, Colorblind White Dominance. And this is going to be the link where we're going to do the video for the course. Also, for the video, I forgot to mention that by week 2, if you don't have a camera on, I will be deducting points. The reason I do this is I know it's an online class, but this is my engagement. How do we see each other? Who knows who's in the class? And how do we communicate with each other, right? A lot of the times we do that through writing, but we don't know who's who, right? So this is why I do a video. And this is Padlet. And week 1, this link will take you to here. And this is when you put the post sign here on the bottom right. And then you start recording, And again, it's just basically the same questions. One thing is that they do respond early. You still got to come back by the end of Sunday, reply to 2 peers, and I can see that. And this I'll be grading your work. But each week when we do a video, I'll give you the link to where it goes, and then obviously it will be locked. It'll be locked on early Monday as soon as I wake up. So if you do it at Sunday 1, 2, or 3 in the morning, then then you could get away with it. But other than that, as soon as I wake up, I freeze it, so you won't be able to turn it in. So again, I am your Profe Enriquez, first 36. You have any questions, you let me know through Canvas. Well, welcome to class, and let's have a good time. Let's do some engagement with the readings and so forth.